YouTube. Welcome to Butterfly Alchemist. Today I want to talk about being part of a building ecosystem and the deep joy that can bring. So, usually I hadn't even considered this subject because when I thought of interactions with neighbors, I thought it's always inconsistent. I have nice neighbors, I have mean neighbors, I have neighbors that steal my mail, I have neighbors that greet me hello, I have neighbors that fight upstairs and I have to call the cops on. That was my understanding of a building ecosystem. And I recently moved and I saw something very different, and it honestly confused me at the start, and I'll share that now. So, the first sign I noticed that this was a true community of a building was I saw someone leave my mail in front of me, like my door, I mean, several times. And I thought, what's the catch in this? What's going on? And I got very suspicious and nervous because I'd had a lot of mail stolen prior. So I checked, did they leave one package to throw me off from the idea they stole other things of mine? But no, they were just doing it to be nice. And I was shocked, I'm being honest. And then after that, there were several other awesome things. I would play jazz music, and then the next morning I would hear someone playing similar jazz music through the walls. And I thought something's really different here. And the signs of this being a true building ecosystem kept happening. So I looked outside and I saw two hummingbirds near my elevator earlier this week. And then I went on the balcony and I would hear music, and my parents spotted another pair of hummingbirds near my balcony directly. So 4 hummingbirds in total this week. And I thought, I never see hummingbirds. What's going on about that? And we realized people were putting hummingbird feeders out in my building for everyone. And not only was that feeding the hummingbirds, it was making the whole building so much better and nicer. And that just really floored me again. I never hear fighting from any home in here, and I wake up more encouraged and joyful now, and it's just such a different environment. And it had me thinking we are part of a building ecosystem, and we may think when we go in our home, it's my home, this is my island, I'm not affecting how my neighbors feel, but that's simply not true. When my parents visited today and we heard my neighbor playing beautiful music out of the balcony, we actually turned off what we were listening to, listened to the beautiful music they were playing, and even my bunnies literally started jumping and playing. So we affect how our neighbors feel, even when we go into what feels like our own territory. And I think that really had me thinking lately, how can I be a kinder neighbor, like to the people in my building? You know, there's so many ways you could bring up mail for a neighbor just to make their lives easier when you bring up your mail. Or you can leave little cards saying, I hope you have a beautiful day, not expecting anything in return, and doing it anonymously. That's the key. They don't have to see your face or know you. This is about being an invisibly kind neighbor that has a power to it. You can put a little bird feeder outside, or you can put a little potted plant outside, or even near your window to where other people can see it. It's just all these little considerations that also make you genuinely happier and feel well. And often many of these things also help the environment local to you as well. So it just really had me thinking. I talk a lot about transformation and all those things. And if I'm honest, the subtle things that my neighbors are doing have been having a significant impact on my mood. Because I would usually hear fighting upstairs in my old home and distress, and that affects your mind. So of course, that can be unavoidable at times. And we can't help what our neighbors do. That depends place to place. And like I said, I never had a building ecosystem like this before, but we can always be the start of that. We can always be the first person to leave mail for our neighbor and let them see a different side of being part of a building. Or we can be the first to leave little notes in our hallway of our building. You can be the start of that trend in your building, and that can have a big impact on your building. So, or your neighbors. It could be a townhouse with multiple stories, or whatever the case may be, your block. But I mean local things that can make a lot of people feel better, that really aren't that difficult. Thanks.